we enjoyed ourselves for sure.
Yeah, everyone seemed very happy. So, okay, I'm going live to YouTube in just a moment.
Okay.
And then I will start the webinar. Already went live.
So, we're not doing it like a regular Zoom class. We're just doing it kind of like a, I'm talking to myself type of thing, right?
If no one has any questions, just, roll through.
Okay, cool.
I just started the webinar, so I'll see if I have attendees.
I just hear my mother-in-law singing the ABCs. That's all I hear right now.
Oh, she came over to watch the kids?
Yeah, you got to see them. They're huge.
Okay, so we're going to get started in 1 minute.
Okay. All right. So I'm just going to start cutting fabric, if you don't mind.
Oh, sure. I will give you a little intro in just a minute.
Okay, sounds good.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another great sewing class. We have Maria Castilla back with another project. Today, we're going to be doing the Casserole Carrier, which we're very excited about. It's very, very timely because we have holidays coming up. So if you're going anywhere, you could certainly bring this with you and show off your new craft. Maria has been doing sewing classes virtual with us for over a year now. So we're really excited that she's coming back to show us another project. So Maria, whenever you are ready, if you could lead us through this sewing class, that would be wonderful.
Absolutely. Good morning, everybody. I'm Maria. And like Amber said, I am your sewing class extraordinaire. And I'll be leading you today. Alrighty, so before we start off, I just wanted to just go through the purpose of the project. Obviously, it's a casserole carrier. Just a great, very simple project to put together. You're going to need 2 yards of cotton fabric. If you are doing this as a take and make from the program the library is offering this month, you would have gotten the materials. So that's 2 yards of cotton fabric, half a yard of batting. So if you're not familiar with batting, it's this nice fluffy material that's used to go inside of quilts and things of that nature. So it's going to keep things nicely insulated for us. Just to recap, 2 yards of cotton fabric, half a yard of batting. You're just going to need some basic thread, a cutting mat, measuring tape, or a ruler, yardstick if you have one. Any of those is going to be fine. Scissors or a rotary cutter. You're going to need an iron, and you're also going to need Velcro. So the Velcro that I chose to put in the packets this time around is actually a sew-in Velcro. I prefer this over the sticky one. But you can use any Velcro that you'd like. You're going to need about 8 inches of it altogether. So, you know, we'll get there soon. And other than that, you're just going to need your sewing machine, which I will set up in a moment. But first, we're going to get started with cutting our pieces of fabric. So we're going to need to cut 2 11-inch by 38-inch pieces of fabric. So the way that I like to do this to be more efficient with the fabric that we're purchasing, I like to go ahead and just like spread open my fabric. And then I like to just measure to see like which is going to be the best way to cut it. And then I fold it in such a way where I can fit it on my cutting surface. So right now I have my fabric right here. So hopefully you can see what I'm doing, but very basic. We're just going to measure 11 inches. Okay. So 11 inches wide. And like I said, I already measured the lengthwise and I folded it so it would fit on my cutting surface. So at this point, the length should be going upwards and the width is this way. So since I do have a bit of a, you know, bleed over here from the original cut, we're going to go ahead and measure from there. 11 inches. You can mark this with a pen. You can mark it with a water soluble sewing, like a fabric pen too. It won't matter. It's just, you're not going to be able to see it anyway. So I'm just going to mark it right there. And I'm going to go here. And where did my rotary cutter go? All right. So then I'm just going to go ahead and cut straight up. So that's one of my pieces. Okay. So this is one of my 11 by 38. I'm going to put this aside. Okay. And now we're going to do another 11 by 38. And again, you can use pretty much anything to measure this. You can use a measuring tape, or you can use a ruler or a yardstick. For longer projects, I like the measuring tape. I feel like it just, it's easier to handle for me. But you can use whatever you'd like. And again, you can also use your rotary cutter or scissors. It all depends on what you're most comfortable handling. Okay, so here I have my 2 pieces of 11 by 38. Okay, so that's this guy. I'm gonna put these aside, and then we're gonna go in and do 11 by 29. So since my fabric is already, you know, 38 inches long, we're just going to cut another 11 by 38 just to make it easier for us. So 2 more of those, and then we're just going to trim it to be the 29 inches. So that way we don't waste any fabric. So if you're not too familiar with fabric and how it comes, usually when you purchase the yard, you're purchasing the yard of the length of the fabric. And then as far as the width of the fabric, it's usually either 42 or 45 inches, depending on the type of fabric, depending on the manufacturer. So you know, just always double check. And whenever you're doing things like this, it's good to always, you know, open up your fabric and kind of just lay it out the way you'd like it to be. That way you're maximizing the amount of fabric you have. Okay, here we are. Wonderful. What did I do my pen? Yes. right? So here's 11, 11. Okay, here's one of my scraps. Alrighty, so now we're gonna actually go ahead and cut these to 29 inches. So this is where I'm gonna go ahead and just open up my fabric and measure out those 29 inches. So my tape. Okay, so here's 29. We're gonna go ahead and mark it. Wonderful. That becomes scrap. And then we're going to do the same thing for the other guy. I'm just going to open it up. And measure. Now, in regards to the fabric I just chose something fun. It is the holidays. So, you know, I just wanted to make it a little bit more festive. And I chose gingerbread cookies, like little gingerbread men. And I thought that was super cute. I think it'll get lots of compliments when I take it to my family's house. And alternatively, I also did choose, for those of you who have the kids, I chose this really great, just like holly green and red type of fabric. It's just, it's beautiful. I loved it. I wish they would have had more, because I would have probably bought out like the whole bowl. It was so beautiful. But yeah, so today we are going to be using gingerbread. All right, so we have 2 11 by 29 and then 2 11 by 38. Okay, so we're going to leave those aside, and then we're going to move on to our batting. And similarly, we're going to do 11 by 38 and 11 by 29. So I'm going to put these over here. Perfect. And we're just going to do the same thing for our batting. Go ahead and see what the best course of action here is. Okay, so okay, wonderful. So I'm just going to go ahead and fold that. Whoops. Now, batting, since it's a little bit fluffier, sometimes it's a little bit trickier to cut if you're doing it with scissors, because your scissors tend to just like get caught in the fluff of the batting. But nonetheless, you know, just treat it like any other fabric. As far as like maintenance and washing this, you can wash this. This is totally machine washable. The only thing that I can say though is try not to put it in like a high heat drying cycle. So if you're going to dry it in the dryer, in the drying machine, then just use a like a low temperature. I think that'll work out fine. Perfect. So here's 11. Here's 111 by 38. And we're going to do another 11 by 38 over here. Batting tends to kind of like move around as you sew and as you cut. So if you want to pin, that's perfectly okay. Okay. have 2 11 by 38, and now we're going to do 2 11s by 29. Okay. Wonderful. And now we're going to do this guy. Okay. So I'm going to put my scrap aside here, and we're going to cut this down to 29 inches, just like the other two pieces that we had. All right, so this is now 11 by 29. And I'm going to cut the other one down to 11 by 29 as well. All righty, so once we have our pieces of fabric and batting already cut, I'm just going to group them together so I know that my fabrics are going to match to my batting. So, okay, perfect. So these are the 29s. I'm going to put these all together. Okay. So we're going to put our first set of fabric aside. We're going to put our scissors aside. We don't need those anymore. And we do not need our rulers anymore. Now, if you bear with me, we're just going to go ahead and put this to the side, and we're going to go ahead and bring over my little trusty dusty machine here. So what we're going to do now is pretty much kind of use the same technique as we would for quilting. So we're going to go ahead and place the long pieces of fabric with the right sides together, and then place the batting on top. So there's going to be 3 different layers, okay? So here's our one layer of fabric, okay? So when we talk about right and wrong sides, we're talking about our fabric as if it had a wrong and a right side. So it actually does. So the right side of the fabric that has pattern on it is always going to be the more vibrant one. So as you can see here, you can see it's a very vibrant pattern. However, when I flip it over, it looks a little bit more dull and faded. So the dull and faded side is always going to be the wrong side of the fabric. Okay, so whenever you see instructions or you hear someone say the wrong side of the fabric, they really mean just the back side that's a little bit more dull and not as vibrant. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and take our piece of batting. Okay, and we're going to put the two pieces of fabric. So we're going to have them right sides together. So meaning the bright sides of the fabric, we're going to put them together. Okay. Like so. Okay. And they just match them up as best as you can. You know what? Mine has the like the watermark of it from where it was cut, like the die cut. So I'm just gonna cut that off super quick. You do not have to do this stuff if you don't have it. What I'm talking about is this, like the wide margin from where the printer, you know, started printing on the fabric. So I'm just gonna cut that off so I can, whoops. So I can match this up a little bit better. Okay. Okay, so that's gone. Wonderful. So we're going to go back and we're going to do right sides together. Okay. And just so you know, before I ever do sew and make a project with any type of cotton fabric or any fabric really, I pre-wash it and dry it. It just gets rid of any type of shrinkage that we're going to get from the fabric. So that way, you know, if you do pop this in the washer dryer, it's not going to, you know, get all like weird and wonky because you dried it. So, you know, that's something that you should keep in mind before you start any sewing project. It's going to be washed and dried, so you're prepping your fabric. Okay. Alrighty. So now we have our fabrics wrong sides out. So the right sides are together. Okay. And we're going to place the batting on top of it. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and match that up as best as possible. Okay. Wonderful. Perfect. Okay. Beautiful. So now what we're going to do is, let me just backtrack a little bit. Okay, so now we're going to pin our fabric in place. Okay, we have the 3 layers in, so we're going to put this in. We're going to pin it in place. Okay, and actually, you know what? I'm going to center my fabric a little bit better. It's because I noticed my batting is a little bit more on one side than it is on the other. So, and that's totally okay. Sometimes that happens. You just want to center it as best as possible with the rest of your fabric. Wonderful. Great. Okay, awesome. I'm happier with that. All right. So now we're going to pin in place. Okay. And we're going to go ahead and sew about a 1/4 inch seam allowance along the 2 long sides of the fabric. So you're going to leave the short ends without sewing. Okay, and this, what it's going to do, it's just going to create like a long fabric tube. Okay, so I'm going to do that. Okay. All right, we're just going to use a regular straight stitch to do this. Like I mentioned, it's a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And we're just going to go straight through the long ways. So we're going to go right here and right here. Okay, 1/4 inch seam allowance, straight stitch. You don't need anything fancy for this. Okay, my machine was already set up prior to. I'm using the Janome Skyline S6. You do not need a digital sewing machine. You can just use the regular mechanical like Brother or Singer. This is just mine that I bought, you know, just last year. So it's my baby. But you know, you can totally use whichever machine you are comfortable with. Now, you don't have to backstitch at the beginning or end of this. This is all going to get like sewn in together very well, so you don't have to, but if you would like to do it, go ahead. And we're going to start right now. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and troubleshoot because I noticed that my fabric was not sewing. So this is where you need to troubleshoot. So it looks like the thread was not in my needle, which, you know, is a problem because you need to have thread in your needle, right? Okay. All right, wonderful. And this is typical of one of my classes. Something always goes astray. And I show you how to fix that. All right, so a lot of newer machines have the little like mechanical pull so you can thread your machine automatically. I just like to do it the old-fashioned way and just put it, you know, through the eye of the needle. It's just more comfortable for me. But of course, it's up to you, your preference, and how you're more comfortable. All right, now here we go. Then. Let's try this. Okay. So about a 1/4 inch seam allowance. There we go. Now, also when we are talking about 1/4 inch seam allowance, I like to remind people that it's not a hard 1/4 inch. You know, just take a look at how your fabrics are matching up. You know, if they're just not lining up all as nicely as you want them to, just do your best and try to just sew along a straight line and making sure that all 3 layers are sewn together. Okay. Okay. So I like to stop and straighten out my fabric, take out some pins as I sew. So feel free to do the same thing. It just makes me feel a little bit more, you know, secure, and that I'm not going to prick my fingers, and that, you know, that the fabric's sewing nice and straight, and, you know, I'm seeing everything. Okay. Okay. All right, so that looks good to me. All right, now we're going to go on to the next side. Mhm. All right, so right now it looks like I have everything sewn together. I'm just going to double check that everything did sew. My 3 layers are all, so you just do a little seam check. At this point, depending on how much fabric you have left over on the sides, you can go ahead and trim a little bit of the excess fabric, if that's going to help a little bit with the bulking once you turn the project around. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. So bear with me. Let's see. Okay, and I'm going to do this with just regular scissors, just because I feel like I only need to do a couple of things here and there, not the whole thing. See, like that was a little bit bulky to me. Over here, let's cut a little bit of that. Wonderful. Okay. All right, beautiful. So now we get to turn the fabric tube that we have created, and we get to stick our hand in there, and you're going to turn it inside out. So we are going to make sure we take out our gingerbread men. or whatever pattern you're using, and we take them out so they're showing beautifully. Okay, so at this point, you can definitely take this to your ironing board and ironing table. I don't have the space right now to actually iron it, so I'm just going to press it with my hand. That's perfectly fine too. Just making sure that the edges are nice and tucked in. Everything's nice and neat. Okay. Okay, wonderful. So right now what we're going to do is at the end of each tube, you're going to have the raw edges showing up. So what you're going to want to do is just tuck them in. Okay. Kind of like this, right? So you just tuck them in, and what we're going to do is just sew it along the top, just using a basic top stitch, nothing fancy. Okay, and basically what we're going to do is we're going to try to edge stitch, which is basically just means sewing closest to the edge. Okay, nothing crazy. So I'm going to go ahead and pin that in place. Those of you who are using irons, you can just go in and press this. It'll make it way easier for you to sew it nice and neatly. Me, since I don't have the iron with me at the moment, I'm a little short of space. I'm not going to show you that step, but it's completely optional and completely up to you. Okay. Wonderful. Okay, so we're pinning in place. Okay. Now, as you can see here, I'm pinning vertically as opposed to horizontally. I prefer to do this just because it's easier for me to keep track of where the pins are as I sew, since we're sewing this way, like that way. So I'll show you what I mean in a second. Okay, so as you can see here, I went ahead and I pinned vertically as opposed to horizontally. So as I'm sewing and the stitching goes this way, I'm going to be able to keep my pins in place without breaking them. Just keep in mind that if you do start, going a little bit too fast as you're sewing, you might be catching one of the pins in there, and it can be very dangerous. So just please be very careful when doing this. Always try to take your pins out as you're sewing, just in case you just want to be safe about, your sewing techniques and things like that. Okay, so now I'm ready for sewing this end. Okay. And as I mentioned, we're just going to go ahead and top stitch. What else can I tell you about that? Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for this one. Okay, so yeah, so let's get going in this. Let's see. All right. Let's go ahead. Wonderful. Okay, we can take out all our pins. Now we're going to do the same thing to the other side. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and pin. Okay. Alrighty. Now we're going to go ahead and top stitch this guy. Okay. All right, so now we are done with this side. Okay, we can put this to the side for the moment. There we go. I'll put it right up here. Okay, and now we're going to do the same thing with our fabric that was cut 11 by 29. Okay, so we have our one piece of batting and our two pieces of fabric. So what we're going to do is put our fabrics right sides together. Okay. Now this is going to be a little bit different for us. Okay. So this we are going to actually cut into the short sides to create handles. So what we're going to do here is basically same steps as before. We're going to just match all our fabric together as best as possible to get that tube that we want. However, we're going to take a bowl or any type of like circular container, and we are going to trace a circle on the short ends. Okay, and I'll show you what I mean by that. First, I just want to make sure that my fabric is nice and neat and it is matched up as best as possible, and it is to my liking. So I'm going to do that and go ahead and pin. Okay. Oops. Okay. Okay, and now we're going to pin on the bottom as well. Alrighty, so the idea is to cut a circle on along the top edge. So I didn't bring a bowl with me, but I do have plenty of circular. So I'm going to use this guy. So it's about 4.5 inches in circumference. That's pretty good for me. But what you're going to do is you're just going to place a half of it on the top like this, and then you're going to trace that semicircle. Okay, so we're creating a semicircle. Right here. And you're going to create another semicircle up here. Okay. So this is going to go in the center of the fabric. I'll show you how that's going to look. Okay. So this is basically what I'm talking about. We drew that semicircle on the top using a circular type of lid. I used a lid. You can use a bowl, whatever you'd like that is, you know, the shape of a circle. And you're going to draw the semicircle on the top of each of the short ends. Okay. And what we're going to do is just cut those out. Okay. So, go over here. I'm going to go snip, snip, snip. Okay. And then you're going to say, Maria, how are we going to make this so we're going to be able to shut the short ends if we can't tuck the raw edges in when we flip the tube over? Well, we're actually going to leave about maybe like a hand's width of space on the long side of the tube, so it'll allow us to flip things inside out. Okay. Wonderful. Okay. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to sew all around the short ends, going down to the circular shape. You're gonna go all around, and once you get to a certain point, I'm gonna actually make that over here, and I'm gonna mark it. Okay, once I get to this point, okay, I'm going to say that's where I'm gonna stop. Okay, and I'm making it about a hand's width, so my whole hand can actually go in there and turn things inside out. All right, so I'm gonna get started. I am gonna start over here, okay, at the bottom end of the space that I made for myself. here. And once again, about a 1/4 inch seam allowance. It does not have to be perfect. Okay. Okay, so when we get to the top, you're going to stop about a 1/4 inch before you get to the end of your project. You're going to turn your fabric. So with the needle in the down position, you're just going to lift your presser foot and you're going to turn the fabric in the direction you need it. And then you're going to put the presser foot down once again. Okay. Same thing goes for when you're going to go around the circle. You're just going to lift and turn your fabric. And sewing in circular shapes is a little bit tricky. So just try to go slowly. Try to just, maneuver as best as you can. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just, kind of go around there. Okay, and here we go. So I'm just gonna go slowly and going in shape, circle. If you need to stop and reposition your fabric, go ahead and do so. And once again, we're going to turn. Okay, turn again. All righty. Okay, once again, turning our fabric. Okay, and I'm going to take out some of these pins because I'm starting to prick myself. So I'm just going to take them out. Okay, just leaving the ones that I need. See, there I went again. All right, so now I noticed that I went a little bit beyond my fabric, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do like a back. Okay. Okay, wonderful. So, like you see here, or maybe this side better. So as you see here, you just went and sewed around, okay, and then back down. So at this point, I just want you to check your fabric to see that you got everything, especially around those circle parts. For instance, for example, right here, I missed a little tiny bit of fabric, so I'm going to go over that a little bit. I just want to make sure that I got all of the edges of the fabrics, all 3 layers, as opposed to just 2. And it looks like I did just that, except for that little tiny mishap I have there. So let's just go from here. Now, the great thing about this is that whatever little, mistakes you made, they're just going to all be on the inside. So you don't have to worry about, anything showing. So at this point, I'm just going to clip a little bit of my corners. That helps with the bulking. We don't want this to be bulky. I'm going to just cut off whatever excess fabric I think needs to be cut off. Go here. Okay, great. Wonderful. So let's stick my hand in the little hole that I made, right? And we're just going to start turning everything inside out, okay? So in the directions that I made, I actually said to leave about 10 inches. It's not completely necessary, but if you want to leave 10 inches, absolutely leave 10 inches. I'm more than comfortable leaving just, 4 or 5. I think that's fair enough. It fits my hand. And we're going to go this way. Now, the important part here is that we want to tuck out the, make sure that we get the little corners of our little circle pieces tucked out as best as possible. Here we go. We're turning everything. Turn, turn, turn. Okay. Wonderful. So now to ensure that we have everything turned over and all of the corners are out, I like to take a pen and I like to stick it in there, the back of a pen that is, and just kind of go through and make sure that everything's kind of poked out the way I want it. Okay. One. Now we're going to the other way. I'm gonna work it out. Now you can use the back of a pen, you can use your fingers, you can use the back of a pencil, and pretty much anything. Just don't use anything that's sharp. That's definitely a big no-no. Okay. Alrighty, and at this point, for those of you who are ironing, you can definitely go over and press with your iron to make sure that everything's nice and neat in the way you want it. Now, as for the hole that we made, we are going to go ahead and tuck any raw edges in like we did last time. The only difference is that this is just going to be at the side, not at the top. Okay. I'm just going to pin that puppy in place. Wonderful. Okay. So we're just going to go ahead and sew along where I pinned. Okay, and that's just going to close up the gap that we have. Now, if you're like me and you like things to be a little bit more embellished, you can go ahead and just sew a top stitch all around. And that's just going to create a very nice, decorative stitching. So you can go ahead and do that, or you can just close it up. It's up to you. For today's project, I'm just going to close it up just for timing purposes. And here we go. So we're just going to go ahead and go into our machine. And we're going to edge stitch, making sure that we catch all sides or all layers of our project. At this point, you can feel free to backstitch in case you just want to secure those stitches. Wonderful. Okay, I'm just cutting off any type of leftover pieces. Wonderful. So, right now your project should look something like this. You have the round top and the bottom. Okay. And what we're going to do now is we are going to what are we going to do? We are going to tuck in about we're going to tuck in these little tails, right? So when I'm referring to tails, we're going to make handles here. So these squared off pieces from the semicircle, they're going to end up being just like loops that you're going to be able to put like a slotted spoon through, or what else can you put through there? Or you can just purchase a dowel, like two wooden dowels to like, kind of hold your project in place, or like hold your casserole dish. So I'm going to go ahead and tuck these. Okay. Okay. So we're going to go about like an inch down. So as you can see, I'm just going to fold it down. Okay, just enough space that you can fit in that like slotted spoon. And I understand slotted spoons can be a little bit thicker depending on, what kind of spoon you're using. So feel free to use anything if you don't have a slotted spoon with you, kind of like me right now. I totally forgot to get one. But try to see if you can find something that would be similar in diameter and use that as your template. So as I'm looking through over here, I'm going to use this Sharpie. Okay. I'm going to wrap it around like this. Okay. So I'm pretty sure my Sharpie is probably around the same diameter as one of my slotted spoons. Okay. I'm going to pin that in place like this, like so. Okay. All right. So I'll give you the imagery here. Okay, so you're going to fold it over like that, and you're going to make sure that you pin it in place. Okay. So once you're done, feel free to take that off, and then you're going to go ahead and do the same thing for the other side. Okay, and I'm just going to go ahead and sew. All right. So I'm going to sew in those little like dog ears or whatever you want to call them right there. And we're going to take our pins out. Okay. Nothing fancy, just a straight stitch. Okay. Wonderful. Okay. Here you will want to backstitch, since this is something that's going to hold, you know, a lot of pressure or tightness or tension really. You are going to want to backstitch this, okay? Awesome. Okay. All right, so as you can see here, ow, I just pricked my finger. So as you can see here, I just finished that part, and this is what it's gonna look like. Okay, so you're probably asking yourselves why I used blue thread. And honestly, I just used it because it was probably easier to see against the what the fabric I was using, so I could show you guys exactly what we were doing. But feel free to use coordinating threads for your projects. It'll definitely won't look, you know, it'll look more professionally done, like you bought it somewhere. But then you can say, no, I actually made this myself. And then everybody's going to proceed to ooh and ah, and you know, it's going to be really fun. Okay. Okay, I'm positioning myself again. Once again, I'm going to back stitch. Okay. All right, wonderful. So this is what it's going to look like. Okay. On the both sides. And then you're going to do the same thing for the other side. I'm going to go roll this through this pretty quickly. Okay. Alrighty, so I'm going to cut these parts off. Okay. Now this is going to be one of the last steps, the second to last, really, before we go ahead and finish our project. So the way this is going to work is we are going to center this as fast as possible. Okay, so this is our 38-inch by 11 piece that we had. And what we're going to do, actually, we're going to do this step first. We're going to put the Velcro on first. And what we're going to do is, whoops, I dropped my Velcro. What we're going to do is do about 4 inches of Velcro for each. Okay, so basically what we're going to do is 2 pieces of Velcro at each side. Okay, and then on the other side we're going to go ahead and put the the other fuzzy piece, or the rough piece. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. We're going to that's going to help secure our casserole or our dish, and that's going to really make it so it's nice and secure, nice and snug. And for this step, I had a lapel stick. You can use a glue stick or a lapel stick. I had one. I think I dropped it somewhere, but that's okay. The whole idea behind it is so you're able to kind of stick your Velcro on the fabric without having to pin it. I generally don't like to pin my Velcro because I feel like it kind of bunches up a little bit, and it just, I don't know, I just feel like it winds up not being as straight as I want it. However, since I do not know where my glue stick went, that's okay. I'm just going to use a pin, and we're going to pin it in place. We want to be about 1 inch from the edge of the short side of our project. So I'm going to measure 1 inch. That's about good. Okay. I'll show you what that looks like. Wonderful. Okay, so here we are. Okay, and that's what it's going to look like. Okay, now what we want to make sure of is that the other side, when we fold it, that the Velcro is facing correctly. Okay, so essentially one's going to be on one side and the other one's going to be on the other side. Okay, so you just want to make sure it matches up the right way. Otherwise, when you sew it in, it's just gonna not be able to close right. So, So you're probably going to ask Maria, why don't you like the sticky Velcro, but you still put like glue stick on your Velcro pieces to stick them on? That's an excellent question. So as I've been experimenting with different types of Velcro, I noticed that that the Velcro that comes like with glue on it, pre-glued, the glue that they use tends to be very, very sticky, which is great for the project that you're going to do. But at the same token, when I'm sewing the Velcro in place, the glue gets stuck to my needle, and then it kind of starts putting unnecessary tension on the thread, which makes it the thread break, or it just makes it like just not sew correctly. So so I found that using a lapel stick or a glue stick really helped me in that respect, because there's no glue left on my needle, and I was happy with the way that my Velcro laid. So as you can see here, I have the pins on it, but you see how they're like, it's like a little bit bunched. That's what I kind of don't like about putting pins in the Velcro. I feel like it just bunches it up a little bit too much. But you know, it is what it is right now. And well, I have like little lints all over me. But yeah, so we're going to go ahead and sew all around the Velcro piece, securing it in place. And feel free to use white or any other color of Velcro, of course, depending on what kind of fabric you have. This is going to make it look cleaner. For my purposes, so you could see well, I used black. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do this. And also I find that the pin gets in my way when I'm trying to sew. So yeah, so multiple reasons why I don't like to use pins on my Velcro. Okay, here again, I'm going to go ahead and backstitch, because I want to make sure that I create that reinforcement stitch to really take on that tension that you might have from having like a heavier casserole. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and backstitch. Okay. All right, I'm just cleaning up my workspace right here. Wonderful. Whoops. Okay, now we're gonna go through and do our other guy. Okay. All right, so now we're going to do the other sides. And see, that's how we went ahead and put in our Velcro. Now we're going to do the other sides. Alrighty. Okay, and now our last piece of Velcro. Okay. Okay, wonderful. So now we have our piece that's going to hold our little casserole. Okay. Okay. So that's how it's going to ultimately go, right? And then the piece that's going to hold our casserole in place is going to be that 11 by 29 piece. So it's really just going to go like that. Okay. See how that goes? Nice and like, you know. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to go ahead and pin our holding like our longer piece, our 11 by 38, and we're going to just settle in it like nice and even. I don't want it to be too on one side or two on the other. Okay. Perfect. Okay. So what we're going to do here now is just we're going to go ahead and undo the Velcro here, and we're going to straighten this out, and we're going to pin these in place. So you're really making just one big like plus sign or big cross with the two pieces. Okay. And what we want to do here is what we're going to go ahead and secure all four sides of the longer piece of fabric, the 11 by 38. Okay, so we're going to secure that too by going ahead and sewing in a square. And I'll show you what that's going to look like. So that way it's secured on all sides, not just, you know, one of the sides. So here we are. We have pinned it in place. Okay. And we're just going to make sure we sew along this square. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. Okay. Now here we're going to definitely want to, we're still going to go with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, but we definitely want to go to through and back stitch again, just to make sure that everything's nice and like tight and it's going to hold the tension and it's not going to break any stitches. Okay, so here we go. 1/4 inch seam allowance. We're going to start and then back stitch a little bit. I'm sorry, I was supposed to show you how you're gonna do this the whole 4 ways. Sorry, I got distracted, but I'm just gonna show you what I did here. Sorry, technical difficulties. I'm just gonna show you what I did here. Sorry, I dropped you guys. But hope you can still see. Basically, we went straight across this way. So now we're going to go ahead and go and complete that square. I did say I was going to show you like how you're going to do the whole 4 sides. So we're just going to go through and start again on the side that we left off. Okay. And again, sorry for dropping you. It happens sometimes. Okay. Okay. And back stitching. Okay, and we're definitely going to want to make sure that you backstitch every time you come to one of the corners. So when you get there, you just backstitch, okay? I'm going to backstitch. Okay, we're turning our fabric. wonderful. So here we are. Okay, so, oh, do I have a, I didn't bring one up. All right, so this is what it's essentially looks like. Okay, so that brings us to the end of our project. Let me see if I have, I totally did not bring a dish to show you how this is going to work. And I totally didn't bring my slotted spoons. I am so upset. But in essence, we're going to, put the slotted spoons through the little carrying holes. Okay, and that is what's going to, we're going to grab a handle of, and then it's going to support our casserole that way. So when we are holding it, we do want to make sure that we do, keep one hand under it, just to make sure that, nothing kind of wobbles over or anything, but it can, fit a nice, dish in there, whether it's round or rectangular, and it's, nice and snug. It's going to be very well insulated, and I hope you enjoy this for the for your holidays. I mean, it makes a great gift, and it's not only just for the holidays. You could actually use it any point of the year. Just pick different fabrics.
It looks great.
Yeah, so it just
Very nice.
Thanks. I totally forgot to bring up a dish from the kitchen, but
Well, I think we can all envision it. So thank you so much for leading us through that project. I know everyone's kits also came with the directions, so you could always refer back to that. This is also recorded, so you can check back on our YouTube station, which is mcpl.tv. And if you have any questions, you can go ahead and email me, gagliardiamber@mcpllibrary.org, and I can get in touch with Maria. And thank you so much. If you want to share your projects with us, you could always email them to me as well. And we'd love to see what you came up with.
Absolutely. And if there's any questions that we can answer, of course, like Amber said, just get in touch with us and we'll answer any questions.
Okay, Maria, we hope you have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday, and we'll see you back soon.
All right, sounds good. Bye.